we didn't have to file a lawsuit for the world to know that there's a problem from a hiring standpoint in regards to minority coaches in the National Football League. The numbers speak for themselves.
Right.
We filed the lawsuit so that we could create some change. And that's important to me. I think we're at a fork in the road right now. You know, we're either going to keep it the way it is, or we're going to go in another direction and actually make some real change where we're actually changing the hearts and minds of those who make decisions to hire head coaches, executives, et cetera.
Okay, so that's Brian Flores. He did the media rounds this morning. He was on CNN. He was on NBC, ABC. And obviously, what started this is the fact that Brian Flores was the only black head coach in the NFL. And you know that the NFL is full of people of color, and that he was fired after delivering 2 back-to-back winning seasons for the Dolphins. You know, like I said, the Dolphins, you know, they're to do as well as we did. We were on a winning streak, you know, to see as much as we did. You know, it's like being a fan for the Costa Rican soccer team. You make it into the quarterfinals down there. Everybody's out in the street. Woohoo! We made it to the quarterfinals. We know we're not getting to the finals, but we made it to the quarterfinals. So anyway, he filed a lawsuit, and he filed a lawsuit against the Broncos, the Dolphins, and the Giants, after he interviewed for a head coach job for the Giants. And it seems like Bill Belichick was confusing Brian's and texting the wrong Brian that he got the job ahead of Brian Flores, who had asked Belichick in a text message, you know, to root for him, basically. And Belichick tipped his hand and said, yeah, I think you've landed. I think you got the job. But it turned out he was texting the wrong Brian. And that's when he decided to file this lawsuit, because there is a rule in the NFL called the Rooney Rule. And the Rooney Rule simply says that you have to give equal consideration. You have to give equal consideration to people of all types, of all races, and specifically, you have to interview minority candidates for these jobs, because the NFL, just like pre-clearance when it comes to voting, has a bad history of discriminating against people of color in the executive offices, right? It's the same damn thing with politics, okay? This is why when the Supreme Court ruled there is no racism in America. We don't have a problem with racism in America, so we're just going to get rid of Section 2. We're just going to get rid of the pre-clearance requirement for states that have demonstrated repeatedly that they discriminate against minority communities and access to the ballot box. They discriminate against people of color. And so because they have this bookable, knowable, teachable history of racial discrimination, we're going to insist that these states with this history, with this demonstrably racist, these efforts that they undertake election after election, if they want to change the rules, if they want to change the law, if they want to close polling places, if they want to change, access to absentee ballots, or if they want to make people count the bubbles in soap bars, they have to go to the feds and get pre-cleared for any rules changes that they want to make, because they have a history, a demonstrable history of racially discriminating against voters of color. It's the same thing in the NFL. And that's why he brought this case, because they have rules in the NFL specifically put there because the NFL has a demonstrably racist, partisan, bent on who can and who can't be a head coach, or who can or who can't be an executive. This goes back to like 2003 when it was like who can or who can't be a quarterback. Well, that sort of worked its way out, didn't it? Yes, anybody, with the talent, the time, the weight, the moves, the practice, the work ethic, the leadership skills, regardless of their color, can be a quarterback. It was just Rush Limbaugh being racist, saying, no, can't have a black quarterback. The NFL was just so keen on having a successful black quarterback, and it just didn't work out. I mean, this is sad, but you've got guys like Ted Cruz lawyering this and saying, well, guaranteeing somebody an interview under a Rooney Rule in NFL, or saying that a black woman when black women in the United States have zero representation on the Supreme Court, saying that we're going to extend black representation in this country to the Supreme Court is somehow racist. Wow, that is really, creating a problem and then blaming the people who solve it for you. It's just really stunning, I got to say. And on top of it, Brian Flores is also charging something else. He's saying that the owner of the Dolphins, Stephen Ross, he owns the Miami Dolphins. This is another real estate mogul worth multiple billions, I think like $8 billion, okay, who bought himself the sports team, demands, certain respect. But that Stephen Ross literally offered to bribe Brian Flores, bribe him $100,000 per game to lose. Thereby increasing the opportunity for the Dolphins to have a first-round draft pick. Now, that is bribery under any circumstances. And I look at this story. Well, first I'm going to play for you so you understand this story.
Among other things, you allege that Stephen Ross, who's the owner of the Miami Dolphins, this is back in 2019, because he wanted the Dolphins to get a higher draft pick, you allege he wanted the Dolphins to lose. And he offered to pay you $100,000 for each game you lost?
Yeah. And it's an unfortunate situation for a number of reasons. One, the game of football has done a lot for me personally. My parents are immigrants. They came over this country in the 70s, really looking for the American dream for their kids, for me and my four brothers. We grew up in, the projects in Brooklyn, Brownsville, Brooklyn, not too far away from here. And the game of football has opened, more doors for me than I could have ever imagined. So the integrity of the game is of the utmost importance to me. So
how did that conversation go?
It was really a conversation between myself and the general manager, Chris Greer, and like you mentioned, it's Steve's upset about that we're compromising our draft position right now because we're winning too many games.
Did Ross, to you, explicitly say to you personally, "I'll give you $100,000 each game you lose"?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yes, he did.
It's not something you make up.
Oh my God! All right. So now we're finding out that Donald Trump donated $1 million to Mark Meadows' Republican strategy not-for-profit group. Can you see what these entitled P words are doing to everything? To everything. Listen, I oh my God, the NFL they're involved in gambling now. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.